So welcome to our ambulatory working group kickoff meeting number one. Today's June 17th. You have been nominated by your organization to represent your clinical specialty on this working group. We're sure you have questions about what is this working group and what will be expected from you, and we'll address that in today's meeting. So as Tammy had mentioned, let's just start with a round of introductions. So my name is Roger Conway. I'm the Senior Clinical Systems Analyst for Ambulatory. Tammy, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Tammy Peterside, and I am a change management specialist for the Lumia project, specifically aligned to KHSC and Rockville General Hospital.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I can go next. My name is Jeff Strain. I am the workflow lead for Ambulatory, assisting with the working group here, involved with all things Lumio and Ambulatory across the different specialties for the project.
Thank you.
I'll go next. My name is Samantha Spolsky, and I'm the coordinator that was assigned to assist Ambulatory with their working groups.
Thanks.
Suzanne, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Suzanne Kuhn. I work for Smith Falls Hospital. I'm a nurse in the ambulatory care clinic.
Thank you.
Jessica?
Sorry, I just had to find my mouse. I'm Jessica LG. I'm a program manager at Hotel du Hospital at KHSC and an ambulatory SME as well.
And Megan.
Hi, my camera is not working, so I can't turn it on. I'm sorry. I'm Megan. I'm the program manager of the ambulatory care unit and outpatient clinics at Rockville General. And I just want to mention, I would like for any further meetings to include another staff. I'm going on maternity leave shortly, and she'll be replacing me. So if we could include Jennifer Uman moving forward, that would be great.
I'll send you an email about that after, just to get her contact information from you.
Great, thanks.
Okay, you can go ahead, Roger. That's
Great,
everyone.
thanks. Thank you very much. And just so you're aware, for whom you had just mentioned, that's going to be covering for you, that the information in today's meeting will be available for viewing, this PowerPoint, as well as any meeting minutes and next steps and whatnot. So they'll be able to have the opportunity to look at this meeting if need be.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. So in today's agenda, we'll going through the introduction to the Lumio and working groups, as well as the project timelines and structure, the role of the change champions, learning resources, and next steps. So the Lumio vision and guiding principles. This vision outlines the reason why we are building and implementing the Lumio risks, and the guiding principles outline how we achieve this. We have a vision of one standard of care and journey for the people we serve. This has been validated and approved by the CEO Council. We will implement and operationalize a regional risk that is clinically and operationally led and enabled and supported by IT. Commit that each organization will be ready to go live and will not put the regional implementation at risk. Make patient safety and quality our top priority. We start with the Cerner Canadian reference model and strive to standardize workflows and processes across the region rather than individual organizations, hospitals, or specialties. Make the risk implementation our top focus to each organization and limit new initiatives. Therefore, we can focus on improving quality and readiness and limit burnout to personnel. Empower individuals in the region throughout the risk transformation to make regional decisions, and empower the Lumio work groups to make decisions and adhere to the governance structures and process. Regional governance will make decisions based on best practices from previous Cerner and Canadian HIS implementations. Make more effective use of our clinicians' times through better integration of clinical processes and reduction of complexity, commit to the risk contracted scope unless patient safety and quality are at risk, and leverage the design, governance, structure, and processes to optimize the solution for the region post-implementation, and deliver value to the healthcare system through cultivating an environment of continuous improvement, optimization, and renewal. Go live is just the beginning. So the overview of the working group structure, the purpose and the mandate is to promote knowledge transfer with all 6 partner organizations, giving limitations to SME engagement at the onset of the project, facilitate collaboration and problem solving among stakeholders to address special issues or achieve particular goals related to patient care, operational efficiency, or organizational improvement, as well as facilitate the knowledge transfer and manage change effectively, ensuring that a broad spectrum of representatives comprehensively grasps future state workflows. For the membership, the operations team co-chair. The operations team will lead the working groups and will be responsible for enhancing knowledge for system changes as sustained work groups throughout operations. So I am the operations team co-chair. Again, my name is Roger Conway. The regional co-chair will be a representative from one of the 6 organizations that will be selected to co-chair from the regional group by the prospective committee. Then there's the organizational work group change champion representation for each applicable working group from all 6 organizations with the subject matter expertise in clinical, finance, and technical groups. This representative will also serve as change champion, who will be responsible for discussing essential workflow changes and relay updates back to the organizations, as well as the workflow leads and CMS team will attend working group meetings where required. The ways of working, respective working groups will be scheduled as 1-hour biweekly meetings. As issues arise from now to go live, working groups will help aid in system build and be leveraged for their knowledge and expertise for escalation areas as issues arise for content knowledge experts, escalations, and then brought up to the prospective committee. And an agenda will be circulated in advance of the meetings via email. What are the expectations for the members of this group? And what is it not? So what is it not? This is not an opportunity for redesign the system or revisit past decisions. What this is, the operations teams will lead the working group meetings. The operations team will prepare presentations or other documentation to communicate outcomes and recommendations and prepare the regional co-chair to gather feedback and insights. Working group representatives will provide input as SMEs on the key topics for their respective areas. Working group representatives are responsible to go back to the organization with the knowledge they learn through these working groups and act as a change champion. Working group representatives will answer questions for their organization and bring those questions back from organizations to the regional group. This is all under the pre-go live. Once we do go live, what is this? All working group members will act quickly to resolve issues as they arise during the go live phase, and all working group representatives will gather feedback on system performance and usability from their respective areas and prioritize optimization requests based on impact and urgency. I'm just going to stop for a moment there to see if anyone has any questions. And again, I apologize, I can't see hands, so
Roger, it's Jess.
yes.
So just the feedback mechanism to our organizations, is there a particular like group or table you want us to bring these things to, or is it like organization by organization?
On the Lumio library, which we'll touch on in a bit, there's quite a bit of information there, I believe, with templates and all of that stuff for that information that is being collected and presented. I don't know, Tammy, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, absolutely. I know that there is also going to be a question log just for the working groups. And so if there is a question raised in your specific organization, you can bring it back here. I believe Samantha would be managing that. And we can take that in regionally to get those answers for you before the next meeting. Does that
Okay.
help answer your question? Jessica?
It's more like if we're having to bring something back for feedback or to our organization, like what groups or committees or tables you want us to sort of communicate with, or is that like up to each organization to?
Oh, so you mean like, okay, after this meeting, there's
Yeah,
something that
like,
you would want
okay,
to take back to KHSC?
you got it,
Like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, so that would really be up to each organization. And I
Okay.
think something to think about even in the first meeting, this meeting, is what are those groups that, you have a link in to, and you can start sharing whatever you receive from this working group or whatever is discussed, and you can take that back. So what are those committees, meetings that are already standing, and you can probably get inserted in the
Okay,
agenda.
I didn't know if it was prescriptive or we could just, we as the representatives will just figure out like best committee to take it to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And just in terms of that question, we have a number of avenues where we've been submitting questions, like for ambulatory microsims, we've been submitting to our change manager folks who've been taking them to the regions. So we have quite a laundry list. So I wonder if we can probably get to that at some point, but would love to
I-
submit that and get some answers. It'd be great. And
yeah,
Jeff knows.
so I do have a couple of questions that were sent in from KHSC, and we worked through some of them, or like most of them, and actually sent them back. So not sure the mechanism there to share that feedback in to those people that asked the questions. But definitely it's definitely something we can touch on and include in the question log, because if KHSC has those questions, it's possible that other organizations have those questions as well. So
Okay, perfect.
great,
Thanks.
great questions, Jessica.
Great, thank you. So this is the working group of the Change Management Network. The working group structure is being initiated to ensure more equitable distribution of subject matter experts from all organizations across the project to facilitate knowledge transfer and manage change effectively. The working groups will replace the current SME engagement and will include several phases leading up to and following go live. So there'll be onboarding, the change management, the go live readiness, as well as ongoing engagement. So throughout the project, we've had SMEs assigned for each of the areas, and they've been working diligently with us and with the project. And some of those SMEs are sort of going back to their real work and real world jobs. So this sort of is helping fill that gap. So we're hoping that this will replace that current SME engagement. So the role assignments for this meeting, the facilitator is the co-chair, manage the meeting objectives, keep audience on track and on time, ensuring participation and solicit feedback from the attendees. The moderator or the co-chair watches for the chat, raises or notes any questions or comments, helps facilitator present known if there are questions, guides those having connection issues throughout troubleshooting steps. And the note taker is the coordinators. They record attendees and absences, update notes with key topics discussed, decisions made, and questions raised. Update the question log and manage the parking lot. So the parking lot is if we're in discussion and there are items that come up that you do have sort of questions or issues on, we will record those and track those and hunt that information down and get back to you. So if something arises that's perhaps off topic or not on the agenda, it's not going to be lost. We will keep a log of that and we will do our due diligence and our research and get back to you when that topic comes up on future one of these meetings or sooner, So we just so you know, any question that's sort of given to us or thrown out there, we will do our due diligence and research to get you that answer. It may not be on the particular call that it was raised, hence why it's called the parking lot. So as far as the principles of the participation, it's speak with intention, say what matters, listen with attention without judgment, respectfully try to understand others' perspectives, knowing your perspective is not the only one. Be aware of your impact, be thoughtful and considerate of others, commit to making a contribution that is helping our work today, helping us move forward, be fully present, be aware of your airtime, let everyone have a chance to speak, be open, speak for yourself only, let others speak for themselves, one speaker at a time, and all members have an equal voice. So this is a safe space for everyone. This is where we want you to be open and honest and share what you need to. This is why you have been selected for this particular committee or event that would go on bi-weekly. So for the etiquette and the participation, it's cameras on and mute microphones when not speaking, silent cell phones during the session, and close email. Use the raise hand feature within this within Teams. Use chat for workshop discussions only. Stay on topic, and the workshop team will use parking lot for the unresolved issues topics out of scope for the session. The project timelines and structure. So this is the critical path. So as you see here, you can see going in the past from October 2023, going all the way out to 2025. I won't get into too much detail on everything that's listed out here, but as I mentioned earlier in the call, this PowerPoint presentation will be available through the Lumio library for your reference. So it's just indicating the key milestones that has occurred and needs to occur up to go live, which is scheduled for December 6th, and then post go live, where we have the stabilization period. Any questions so far? Great, I'll move forward. So this is the working group structure. At the very top, we have our CEO council. From that, there's the steering committee, and then it's broken down who reports up to. It's the program transformation council, the technical committee, as well as the finance committee. This is the role of the change champion. So Tammy, I don't know if you want to take it from here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Roger.
You're welcome.
So please, the next slide. So just touching on your role as working group members, you have been selected to this working group reason. It means that you are leaders in the various departments and the various organizations that you find yourself in. And so the goal is that, you would act as a communicator to bring back the message, bring back the information that you're hearing at this table, the working group, and share it internally at the different meetings that you might have with your colleagues, and solicit feedback too, and act as that bridge, providing feedback from your colleagues, from the departmental meetings that you're attending to these working groups as well. Also acting as an advocate, because we know that change is hard. You might also be getting a lot of resistance as changes being introduced to your organization. And so it is really important that, you advocate and really be a champion for the Lumio and the Lumio system as it's being launched. You'll also get to help people come on board for the upcoming change. Even if you aren't a direct manager, you are still a leader. And just to the point of like a resistance manager too, we've heard that it is important to hear about huge decisions like this and huge changes like this from a trusted person, and that would be yourselves. And that would also help people to sort of move from, okay, I don't want to do this, to, okay, it's not that bad, and actually this is great, and why didn't we do this like 10 years ago? So you'd also be managing resistance. Research shows that the best intervention to mitigate resistance comes from the team's leadership, because they know their people. You know your people, you know how best to reach them and to encourage them on board this journey that we have done. And in the same vein, you would be acting as a coach and just helping your team to transition let's go live. So yeah, these are all the ways you would be for the expectations as a working group member. And yeah, go to the next slide. It's really a slide that I like to call sort of like the life cycle of the working group or the different change stages so far. So right now, if you look at the chart, you will see that working groups fall under sort of that acceptance where people begin to champion the change and leverage the knowledge to bring people on board. So the working groups really act as that knowledge transfer. So now, you know, as you participate in more and more of these meetings, you would get like that knowledge to actually go back to your departments, to your colleagues, and sort of bring them or guide them into the upcoming change. And so before that, we've gone through like sort of the awareness stage, the understanding phase, the awareness just being where people are noticing changes are coming. Maybe you've heard like an update from your CEO or just a leader at your organization saying, hey, we're doing this thing or Dumio. You would also probably have seen like micro simulations that started actually late January up until I think late April. And things like leadership engagements, if they occurred in your organization. You'd also have seen things like the manager toolkit, which is also on the Lumio library. I would walk you through, and provider packages or provider updates as well. And so after sort of that acceptance phase, we go into the adoption where knowledge transfer continues and users are fully equipped. We see that there are now more locally driven activities. So you have roadshow demonstrations, training, which would involve super user training, train the trainer, and user training, other readiness hub events, and then integration, which is when we go live, everyone makes it, we celebrate, we now have a new system, and then transition to operations where sort of the working group dynamics changes from getting the knowledge from the region to, okay, we've now executed, the system is now live, but there's this optimization list that has all these things that we can implement or there are decisions that need to be made. That's when those decisions come back to this working group and we have an opportunity to decide, okay, let's do A versus B versus C, and just, you know, sustain the system post go live. And then the next slide talks about just a Lumio library. And I guess like thumbs up if you have had any interactions with the Lumio library so far, whether you maybe went there for a micro sim or a knowledge transfer workshop. I'm going to see Jessica.
Yeah,
Jessica,
I've been on there. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just saying that I've been on it, sorry.
Awesome. Okay, all right. I can definitely share my screen and just give you a walkthrough of the resources available in the Lumio library. And actually, I don't know, Roger, do you want to take it from here or do you want me to kind of do a live demonstration of the Lumio library right now?
As you wish, I can stop sharing.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll share my screen. So I do have to preface this by saying that I'll put the link in for the Lumio library in the chat. Definitely sign up if you've not had a chance to do so. I'm sorry, Jessica, is that an old hand or is that a new one?
I don't think I have my hand up.
Okay, my apologies. First hand. Okay, so I've put the link in the chat. Feel free to click on it and it will bring you to a sign up page. You need to create a username and password. And I would say please give about 24 hours because the Lumio communications team will have to go in and approve your access request. And so once that is approved, you will get access to the Lumio library. This is the first page you will be brought to. There is a lot of resources available here. So you can listen to our podcast, for example. It talks about anything from like the new rules of care, from a provider to training resources and what you can expect from training. And then micro simulations, like I said, that happened since January. You can go through, if anyone interests you, definitely watch. And then the manager's toolkit. I know there has been a couple for May, June, going forward, and then the provider's corner. But really, what I would want to focus on and what is of great importance to this group is just this last tab here, which is the change management working group. So if you click on that, so for example, this is the ambulatory working group. It's a list of all the working groups. You just click on the one that you want, and you'd see things from meeting practices, agenda templates, minutes templates, presentation templates, all these templates. But what I think I want to focus in on is this learn, do, share template, which I think is a good way to document things that as you go back into those meetings or those committees internally at your local organizations that you sit and are part of, you can say, okay, this is something I learned at the working group today. I'll just put it under learn, or this is something that people can do and further share things like that. The meeting is also recorded, and all the recordings would be available on the Lumio library right here, as well as upcoming materials. You also have the high impact workflow document, which is a document which about a little over 90 were high impact workflows that have been selected because they know it's going to be, I guess, of high impact or like very impactful to the different local organizations. I would highly encourage you to take a look at that document as well. And then here you have like a lot of the workflow schematic documents that kind of take you through the workflows for each department. So this is mostly ambulatory or each workflow. So critical lab values, diagnostic testing, things like that. And yeah, it's a lot of information. So I would really encourage you to take some time and spend it in the Lumio library, just getting up to date with what has already been done if you haven't been involved so far. So I'll just pause there to see if there are any questions so far. Roger, I take that as a no, and I will pass the baton back to you.
Great. Thank you, Tammy. For the next portion of this meeting, we're going to receive a high-level overview of the functionality of Lumio Oracle Health Cerner Power Chart. So Jeff will be handling this part. So over to you, Jeff.
Hey, thank you. Give me just a second to share my screen, and if you guys can let me know when you can see.
We can see it, Jeff.
Perfect. Thank you. So not sure how much of the system you guys have all been exposed to. So we're going to, like Roger said, keep this pretty high level. What I'm showing you right here, this screen is in fact the landing page, or what we call the home page for a nurse that works in an ambulatory clinic. So this page is kind of broken up by three different sections. I like to call the top toolbar one section because you will often hear folks refer to the top toolbar. And then what we see here on the left side, this is what you're going to hear commonly called the message center, where I can receive and send communications between clinicians on my care team or potentially anyone within the region. And then what we're going to take a closer look at today is actually the ambulatory organizer. So that is the right side here where I'm actually organizing my day and being able to see particular patients that are going to be seen for a physician schedule or a nurse-led clinic schedule, and where those all stand in terms of status, appointment duration, what the appointment type is, etc. So starting from there, on the ambulatory organizer, we have the top three tabs here. We have the day view, the calendar view, and the open items. I am going to show you the day view first. So this can go throughout the week. If I wanted to look at an upcoming day, I could see what appointments are scheduled, but probably the most critical piece of this view is going to be the patients for. So I have to set this up at the user level, so each user can view this differently and they can see a particular physician's schedule or they can see a particular resource schedule. So as long as appointments can be booked against that person or individual and or that resource, I can view their schedule for an individual day. So we are looking at Dr. Holland's schedule in the ENT clinic at Hotel Du, and I can see just using this left side column, I can see the status of each of those. So we have color coordinated statuses. First one is checked out. We have seen by MRP, and then we have seen by nurse, which is going to highlight that row green. And then we have a checked in status that is highlighted blue. And then any patient that has yet to arrive, but has a confirmed appointment for the day is just kind of that light blue or white status. I can see the appointment durations from here, the actual patient, just brief demographics, and you'll notice if I hover over that, I can see a little bit more about the patient. And then the name is actually a hyperlink into that patient's chart. So if I click on that patient's name, it's going to bring me directly into their actual medical record where I can get and see all the information that I might want to see. And we will get into that a little bit further in a second. If I hit the home icon, this can take me back to where I was, where I can see that schedule once again. And I typically get questions about this on, is this a nurse's view? Is this a physician's view? Both nurses and physicians, as well as secretaries, can have this same view when they open PowerChart. So they would be able to set up their view to look at either one or multiple physicians or resource schedules. The other thing that we can do here from this page, it is interactive. So if I know that that 1 o'clock appointment has already been seen by the physician, I can set it to seen by MRP, which is going to flip that status and also show me how long that patient was in each of those statuses of checked in, seen by nurse, seen by MRP, etc., and their total office time. The other thing that we can do here is if our nurses are dual function where they are, maybe there's no secretary or it's a nurse-led clinic, we can take that confirmed appointment and we can actually check it in directly from the ambulatory organizer. So I can see that the patient is here, set their check-in time, and then be able to hit OK, which is actually going to prompt a registration conversation where I have to choose it and then set a couple of fields for that patient's registration. Okay, once we set those required fields within the patient's registration, we can hit OK. If our clinic is printing face sheets or armbands, this is where I would have the opportunity to do that. Given today's demo, we're not going to print any of these documents and we're going to proceed forward. As you can see, that's going to flip the patient from confirmed to checked in. And then everyone that's viewing this provider schedule would be able to see that status update. Any questions so far? Go ahead, Jess.
Jeff, what's a face sheet? Like, what would that be?
So a face sheet is something that I refer to. It's almost like a registration page that contains a barcode to scan or labels, like sticker labels for the patient. I've seen that used at other places. Doesn't mean that you guys are using it or have to use it, but a face sheet would be just like the registration page with the patient scannable barcode as well as stickers that might go on any lab specimens, etc.
Okay, thanks.
Is that something that you guys currently use?
Yeah, we don't use a face sheet per se, but we do print out patient labels.
Patient labels for specimen collections that are going to go to lab or other places?
Yeah, mostly for paper, but yes.
Gotcha. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions about this particular view, how it can be used? Okay, I will continue on. There is a couple of other tabs here. Our calendar view tab does give us more of an Outlook type view. So depending on, and again, it is critical that we set the resource or the patients for filter here so that we are looking at that same resource, because this is again is going to give me the ability to look at other resources or multiple resources. But here is kind of more of a week-long view of what type of appointment slots as well as filled appointments this individual physician has. I can see that obviously they're not in clinic on Wednesday and Friday. So it just gives me that more broad view. Last but not least, we have the open items tab. The open items tab works a little bit different for nurses versus physicians. So let me go back to that day view. I can see if I hover over this colored square that the task list is already complete, which is the only open item that we put out there for nurses. If I'm logged in as a physician here, the system can actually remind them to do their encounter notes or their visit note for each of these appointments, because what we are displaying on the ambulatory organizer is an appointment specific to that day, and we know that we're going to get an encounter or a visit note. So it can be a helpful reminder to physicians where they can visit that open items tab and see, oh, well, I left early yesterday due to, unforeseen circumstances, and I want to go ahead and finish that visit note. Okay, I'm going to jump into the chart just to give you guys kind of a brief overview of that as well. So we will go ahead and open our ZZZ IT3 test 18. So here, what we have just from an orientation standpoint, when I do open a patient's record, it is visit specific. So if I look in the demographic bar or the blue banner bar, if you will, we do show the date of the patient's visit as well as a unique PIN number or encounter number. So that might be something you guys are used to, a visit number in your current system. That is visible there. And then what I am viewing is not necessarily all encounter specific information, but it is patient specific. All right, sorry guys. The other thing that I want to point out here is we have this left side menu. You might hear it called the dark side menu or the blue menu. So this is what we call our table of contents, where I can get to different areas of the patient's chart. Where you're going to land as a nurse or physician is this outpatient or ambulatory view that's going to give me multiple tabs across the top for multiple views of what are affectionately referred to as M pages. And we have a few different styles of M pages. The first one being a workflow style M page, where we have different components running down the left side where I can see and even enter information. So if the patient is here for an ENT procedure, we can put that in, and then we can actually sign off on that documentation directly on this page without opening a form or opening a flow sheet or anything of that nature. Other things that we can see here, just depending on the component, I can look at previous documentation that was charted on the patient. So this is visit notes, encounter notes from a patient's previous visit or their current visit. I can see who they were written by, when they were updated, etc., and what type of notes those are. And then we get into also flow sheet style documentation where I can see vital signs as well as lab results if the patient has any. So this is really just a good hub for all of the patient's clinical information for you guys to view and potentially enter that information as well. What we also have is what we call quick orders in pages. So if I go to the clinic staff orders, I can actually see that we have different components, and this view is a little bit different. So I can expand any of these components to actually enter orders. So if there are orders that I need to enter for the patient, whether it's just a routine PFT or an arterial blood gas, I can choose that order, and it's actually going to, since I'm a nurse, it is going to prompt me whether I want to order or propose this order, and it's going to ask who my physician is so that I can actually route this physician or route this order to co-sign to that physician. So once I have that, it does go up into my orders for signature, or almost like my Amazon shopping cart, and I can sign off on that order and place it that easily without navigating to the patient's order profile. Other tabs that you guys, or other in pages that you guys are going to have access to, or that your clinics are going to have access to, is this demographics page where I can look at previous visits. I can look at the patient's registration information, any of the providers that the patient is registered to, their health plan, etc. Some of that registration or more administrative information that you guys are used to seeing. Let me take a quick pause and ask if you guys have any questions. Okay, is this stuff you guys have seen, familiar with, seen to some degree? I know Jess has, but I don't know about the rest of the group. Okay, let me continue on. I want to show probably just one more thing here, the patient's order profile. So if I navigate over to that dark side menu, we do have a tab called orders. This is going to show any active orders, and I can actually filter this out to show any completed orders for the patient. So depending on what my filter that is set here in the middle of the screen, I have all active orders, all inactive orders. This can show me anything that the patient has ordered for them, including future tests or exams that have been ordered by other providers. So I can see that this patient actually has a transthoracic echo as well as a complete pulmonary function test ordered for the future that has not been scheduled and not been completed yet, knowing that I would not necessarily need to order one of those again. If I wanted to place or add any orders, I can do so by clicking our plus add button. That is going to prompt our order search, where we have some quick orders folders, so I can look at those folders or I can just directly search. One thing to keep in mind here is whether or not I am putting in an in-office order, so a lab, a diagnostic study, etc., or if I'm writing a prescription order. If I need to write a prescription order, we do need to flip this order type to the ambulatory meds as RX, and then we could search for an order that we would want to place for that patient. I'm actually signed in as a user that can't prescribe, so that's not going to work. We're not going to be able to write that prescription order, but if I were, that is how we would do that. Okay, guys, from the toolbar, I can always jump back up to that home page to get to the schedule for the day. As I do things and navigate through the patient's chart, this is going to update depending on what has happened. So we do get some automatic updates, like when a physician were to sign their visit note or a nurse to place an order or sign a form, this is going to update to that seen by nurse versus seen by MRP status. And you would be able to tell what is going on from here. All right, guys. Before I wrap this up, I'm going to give you another opportunity for any questions or anything that you might want to see in the system. Just a broad, high-level overview here. Okay, I will stop sharing. And oh no, we have a question. Go ahead, Tammy.
Well, not so much a question. It's a very quiet group here, but I guess a question up for you before the group is there anything, I know like Jeff has gone through quite a lot and very quickly, but is there anything that comes or just jumps out at you that is very different from how you currently do things at your sites? Is it pretty the same, standard status quo? Suzanne?
Hi, yeah, so at Person Smith Falls, everything is still paper-based. So, with regards to doing this the same as what's going to be the new norm, this is totally different from what we do now. So I know it's going to be a huge, huge learning curve here.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Suzanne. Dirk?
I just had a question, maybe for you and Jeff and Roger. I know Suzanne had participated in some of the workshops and had those feelings then about, paper-based, quite a change. I didn't know if you had time to maybe show what like a simple nursing note looks like, just to show that functionality and to have that in people's minds for an option, or if that would come kind of at a later date.
Yeah, I think that's something we can show. So Suzanne, if I navigate back into that patient's chart and if I am navigating to the clinical notes tab, nurses are going to have the ability to add in clinical notes, and then they would be able to chart that against a specific note type. So if it's something as simple as just a nursing narrative note, they can choose this. They can write in a subject. So if they want to say ENT nurse notes, then they can go by free text and they can put in really anything that they want to about the visit. The other good thing about these clinical notes is we can use what we call dot phrases to be able to use auto text to generate templates of text that you may use commonly and repeatedly so that you don't have to retype everything out manually. I don't know that we have one in here right now. But we can pull in any type of auto text that would be able to show that template, and then you would be able to sign off on that note. Then we get that final report or that note showing within the clinical notes, and then that would also show back over on the patient's M page here. So I should be able to go into the documentation tab and be able to see that nursing note that was completed for the patient on that day. The other thing from a nursing standpoint, Suzanne, that I will show you is within our vital signs component here, we actually have a drop down for what we would call our comprehensive intake form. So any clinic nurse that's bringing in a patient and showing or, taking their history, if you will, or just doing their intake form, we have this all templated out and we can spend another meeting going through this kind of more in depth. But a patient summary view here to capture the patient's chief complaints, really what are they in the clinic for, their preferred communication, vital signs, height, weight, a quick depression screening. And then if I look on this left side, we have all these different things, or all these different sections is what we call them, as part of this form, where we would be able to capture different information about the patient, whether it's their allergies, their problem history, social history, family history, and then, more into a subjective section, which is more like a review of systems to see what is going on with that patient. Are these things that you would typically follow today, like a standard intake form and, capturing those vital signs, height, weight, et cetera, as that patient comes into the clinic?
Some of the clinics are. It just depends on whether, like, which clinic is running. A lot of our surgeons, when they have their clinics, they'll give them a paper copy of pretty much this, a history and physical. And they fill it out and then they just hand it back and it goes back to the offices. It gets scanned in somehow or added to a chart somewhere. So this is kind of like a history and physical, is it not? What I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, it's very similar. So this is the intent, or the target audience to input this information is going to be the clinic nurses, or MAs, if you have them, to be able to capture this information about the patient, and then it can assist in completing the physician's visit note.
Right.
Good thing about this is you don't have to fill in every field. You can fill in what's relevant to your clinic, to your specialty information that you're used to capturing, and then you can sign off on it and be done with it. So it's not like you have to go through every section, every single question, fill it in, but I can hit anything that has a required field, which is represented by that red asterisk there. And then any information that I input, then I can use this green check mark in the top left corner to sign off on that form. And then that information becomes part of the patient's record.
Okay, got it.
So might have went a little further than Dirk wanted me to with the simple nursing note as well as the intake form, but hopefully that's helpful in seeing, kind of those first steps of capturing the information for a patient's clinic visit.
No, it was. Thank you.
Is there anything else from the group that you would like to see at this time briefly, or have questions on? Nope. Going once, going twice. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. So now basically what we're going to discuss is what are those next steps for us? So the next steps for us is, one, if you're interested in becoming a co-chair for this work group, please let your regional co-chair know, as well as what does ambulatory look like in your organization, a day in a life, how can we support you? So we're here to help you as the change champions and for the knowledge transfer, and just being happy and proud of the system that we're going to be implementing, as well as creating a Lumio elevator pitch. So wanting you to think of something where you can explain to your team in 2 minutes or less as to why Lumio is important and how it will improve care throughout the region. So essentially now we're just want to do the ambulatory level set, which is what is ambulatory in your organization and how can Lumio support you? So I'll open it up to the group.
Roger, maybe you could clarify the question, like what kind of information are you looking for?
We're looking for what ways that, I mean, we've started these sessions for the change champion as well as the knowledge transfer. So, as we move forward in these meetings, we'll get a deeper dive into specific topics or workflows or system functionality, knowing and realizing that this sort of group is not necessarily a training per se. Every user will receive end user training, but specifically to highlight things that perhaps could currently be a gap, something that we could perhaps focus on more to help alleviate sort of any stress that anyone may be feeling, how we can, help disseminate certain information for you all as being the change champions. We want to know specifically how we can turn this meeting into what we can do to help you and help your end users. So like I said, we'll go through as we move forward on a bi-weekly basis, going through, discussing specifically what topics should be next and within our next working group, what should we go through. We will go through in the future those specific high level workflows or high impact workflows and a deeper dive into the system. But we want to know specifically if there are things that are in your minds that you think at this time or anywhere in the near future that stand out where maybe we can focus a little bit of more energy and attention on, just to be sure that everything is good within this group and that you're able to effectively communicate and be the change champion for your organization.
Do you know what those high impact workflows are going to be
I believe on the
from an ambulatory
Lumio,
perspective? Yeah,
yeah, I
sorry.
believe in no, sorry, I believe in the Lumio library that there are currently workflows available. I can try to pull that up. I don't know if Tammy still has that up, but I will
Oh
look
no, I saw
for it
that.
in a moment. So just bear with me.
Because I know they're
Um,
identifying like specific ones that they wanted to highlight or work through. I didn't know if from an ambulatory perspective, if we knew which ones those were.
Absolutely. I do have that up, Roger, if you want me to share screen.
Oh, great. Thank you. I appreciate that, Tammy.
No problem. Hopefully you're seeing the right screen.
It's teeny tiny.
Increase it here. Okay. I'm just gonna filter through to just ambulatory. Yep. Can everyone see my screen okay? Or do I need to increase it just a little more? Sorry, I'm
Okay,
trying to
so-
make it all fit.
Yeah, no, we can see it, or I can see it. It's okay. So are these the workflows that you want us to work through as a group here, or are these going to be taken at a organizational level? What's the next steps with these ones?
Well, the thing is with the workflow specifically, that sort of like what Jeff had just completed as far as like an overview, that which is just sort of to touch the system. But we're hoping to go through on these bi-weekly meetings to actually touch on some, if not all, of these high impact workflows, just to go through to see how it's like, from start to finish, from end to end for that particular workflow. And then to see, which questions are generated from there and how we can assist sort of to disseminate the information to the larger groups. So this basically, we're just looking, we want to be as helpful and as informative as possible for the folks that are on this group that are going to be the change champions, and to specifically have, information that perhaps when they're speaking to members in their organization to come back with specific questions, and based off of that, it would drive future meeting agendas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe there's an additional Megan.
Hi.
Hi.
I know this has been a topic of conversation just regarding the referral process and physician access and whatnot, with myself and some other leaders within VGH. I don't know what specifically ambulatory care looks like at the different sites. But here at VGH, ACU encompasses our systemic oncology program. We have clinic space that the physicians will use for a day or a half day. And then we have our medical day. And any physician that is credentialed at BGH can have their patients seen in clinics or refer them to medical day for, let's say, iron, for an example. So I have been asking multiple times of what it looks like. Will all of our community patients, or all of our community physicians, sorry, have access to Cerner to be sending in those orders, or like what that workflow will look like? And our leads within BGH has just said, like, still to be figured out. So I don't know if that's something that has been discussed with the other sites, or maybe we're unique in our setup because we don't have an overseeing physician that would see these patients upon referral here. The other thing I can add is because there was some conversation about referring via Ocean, but then Ocean doesn't integrate to Cerner at this time. So I just don't know if this has been a topic of conversation for others as well.
I can
Oh,
take that one. Megan, you touched on a lot of good things there that we plan to go through during this work group, referrals being one of them, infusion orders, ambulatory infusion orders being another that we've had long discussions with Jess with, because that is obviously a need across the region, not just at BGH, but at KHSC as well. So part of that system configuration and workflow is still in process, and part of it is we need to present it to you guys and make sure that it's going to be sustainable. But then you touched on one other thing that I don't know that will be something that this work group can answer, and that's community providers and whether or not they're going to have access to place orders or do things within Cerner. I think that's really more of a question of, are they a credentialed provider that currently has access to your system now? Does that continue going forward? But that's probably more of a leadership type question that I don't know that we can make a decision on or tell you specifically who will and who won't have access. Obviously, anyone at BGH that's a credentialed provider or clinician that currently uses your system is going to have access to Lumio, but community providers, depending on whom you're referring to, like they don't work at a Lumio site, but they send patients to you, that could be a different scenario where they may need to send in a requisition or a paper order for the patient that we transcribe into the Lumio system.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Those are absolutely excellent questions, and I would tell you to please continue to bring them forward.
thank you, Jeff. Jessica.
Sorry, I'm gonna try not to dominate as per the guiding principles. One thing that keeps coming up, and this is not just specific to ambulatory, is surgical requests. And like right now we have a paper process on how to request surgeries from clinic that go to like our physician offices. So it kind of like goes through a few different workflows like peri-op and things like that, but it would be nice to sort out what that looks like or see a demonstration of that process, how to request surgeries and things like that. Because there is some work from a clinical perspective, like from clinics to like our pre-surgical screening. It's called a HARF process here. I don't know what it's called in the other sites, but it would be nice to know what sort of has been landed on in terms of that.
I think that's another good one, Jess. I'd say we would probably want to bring in our surgery folks because that is a completely separate solution pillar to kind of talk through it. But as far as I know, the actual surgical request can be placed as an order and would be electronic. I think that will flow over to scheduling. The HARF process that you mentioned, I'm not familiar with, so we will have to ask them those questions.
Okay.
Tammy.
Yeah, so if I'm hearing this correctly, Jeff, are you saying that this is a good integration point with surgical? Because we are looking at, if possible, combining some of these working groups for some meetings where there is an intersection. So is this an opportunity where we can bring in select the surgical inpatient working group or some other working group that is relevant here?
Yeah, I think it's a perfect opportunity, and I think it's the perfect integrated workflow for us to either talk through or work through together and present to these working groups.
Thanks, Jeff.
Anyone else? Okay, well, that seems to have gone a lot quicker than we have allotted for. So I do know that there's about 48 minutes left on the calendar. I mean, I certainly don't want to waste anyone's time, but I also don't want to feel as if we're rushing this particular meeting or jumping past something that could potentially be relevant. So again, I ask if you have sort of any questions that of anything that we've currently discussed or went through today with the PowerPoint and or the demonstration, as well as any potential future topics for the next time that we meet. No? Okay. Tammy, Jeff, Samantha, does anyone have anything that they'd like to add prior to, I guess, letting the group go early?
Just adding, since the group we're closing out here, I am missing like 3 more high impact workflows, and I think maybe sending that out as an email to each and every one of us, and like before we're up the next steps, sort of meeting notes would be beneficial if everyone is in agreement.
Nothing major for me. I just want to thank you guys for the time and for the questions. Please continue to ask the thoughtful questions that you have so that we can answer them as best as possible.
Thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Jeff. Samantha, anything?
I don't have anything. If anybody thinks of anything afterwards that they'd like to touch base on in the upcoming meetings, any topics of discussion, you can feel free to send them to me by email. I'll keep track of them. And Meg and I will connect with you for your coverages information.
Great, thanks. And again, just to emphasize the Lumio library, if you haven't signed up for it, please do so. That's where we're keeping a lot of important documentation in regards to the project. So I currently don't have anything else. So thank you all for your participation, and look forward to working with you all. And we're in for exciting times. Good change ahead. So looking forward to that. So thank you all very much, and see you next working group meeting. You'll get those invites if they haven't already been sent out to you. They would be shortly, as well as the meeting agendas. So have a great afternoon, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye now.
Thank you.